Oi, oi, hello and welcome to another Cheltenham preview. It is December meeting, Friday and Saturday, 2 days of banging action. I am trying to bang some workout today, but I thought I haven't done a weekend preview for a little while. I'm going to run you through the 2 days at Cheltenham and where my thoughts are now. So, without further ado, I'm going to share the screen. We'll go through Friday, we'll go through Saturday, give you my early, insights into where my head's at with each of these races. Where some money might have already been placed. And the ones I fancy for each of the fixtures, I guess. So, first race on Friday, decent cards both days, let's be honest. First race kicks off with just a 4-runner novices hurdle, 2 mile, 1 furlong. So it is a drop back in trip for both. That's nice. And wingmen. Country Mile was all right at Haydock, but you would have thought would have been able to pick up Road Less Travelled. And Palacio was a good front running winner at Chepstow, but you'd question whether it could do it again. I thought, basically, from impressions, right, Wingman's a horse that's in my horses to follow. I like this horse. I think he's a real nice prospect, but I wonder if he's just going to be one of those horses that doesn't really fulfill what he's capable of doing. I can see there's been some early money for him. You can see a little bit of blue on. That's nice as well. Like, I really do think the race is between the pair of them, but I think Palacio and Wingman probably going to go off in front. Country Mile will happily sit behind and track the leaders, and that's nice. Will be out the back. Now, I know her jumping needs to improve a bit. Wingman's is the same, needs to improve a bit, but I don't know how much his is going to continue to do so. But she cantered across the line last time out. Nico de Boinville never looked in any worries. The horse that she beat came out and won a listed race after, I think it was. And I just thought it was one of those types of performances, where it's almost like, wow, this is potentially a really, really smart prospect. So I think she well deserves to be favourite. Price-wise, I think if I was going to try and get in on this, I'd probably want to bet her at 6 to 4 plus. So not too far off the realms of possibility. We may get that. And I do fully respect Wingman as well. Now, his price is obviously contracting. Had he have been sat 7 to 2 or something like that, I can't remember what he first opened up at, but it was bigger than 5 to 2, given the fact that William Miller already blew. But I think if it had been a bigger price, he would have been the one that would have attracted support. So I don't want to say it's market correction because the market has started and it will settle and then it might wibble itself out a little bit after. But I can see why he was popular in the early prices at the price they put him in at. And that's nice, was probably putting a little bit too short as well. So look, I haven't fully decided where I'm playing this race. I haven't had a bet in the race as it stands at the moment, but I thought the performance from That's Nice last time out was almost breathtaking. The way that Nico de Boinville didn't panic in the slightest and she cantered past the horse in front, another, I guess, not another jockey, but another horse that maybe didn't have tons and tons and tons in hand would have had to be asked for that effort. So look, fairly boring. Market is about right on there. And I do really like Wingmen as well. So look, at the risk of getting that race wrong, I would be driven by prices more than the actual horses. But I think the ranking of the prices is correct in that race. Right, the novices chase that comes after the 12:40. This is an interesting one as well, right? So Nicky Henderson sent loads of horses to this race in the past. He's had loads of horses that have won it. He's had loads of horses that have absolutely flopped as well. Lots of instances where he's had more than one runner in the race. Now, Django Bay is a very good horse. Probably achieved more than any of these, or more than anything that any of these others have achieved over hurdles. Was a bit keen in all these hurdle races, and that's what worries me a tiny bit about him going chasing first time up. Caldwell Potter was fine, but that's all I would probably say on his chasing debut. Was brave at a few of his fences, sort of reached a bit, jumped a little bit left, which is better than the way that his half brother Mighty Potter used to jump, wasn't it? But I just feel like there's mistakes in him. For all that I think he'll step forward for that first one as well. Like, he didn't cross the line and have bundles left, but the quick turnaround would suggest that was nothing more than probably just a piece of work. Again, I feel like he probably deserves to be favourite, given the fact that he has had that chase start and is entitled to step forward for it. Django Bay was 9 to 4, I think, maybe even a touch bigger. So again, I feel like it is probably more like market correction. Springwell Bay's got to give weight away. The fact that the Springwell Bay's been round it is a big positive. The fact that Springwell Bay is dropping back from 3 miles to 2.5 is another positive. And if they do go quick in it, Springwell Bay is definitely not without a chance. But do you really fancy him when he was going to run in a handicap last week? And now in this instance, he's got to give weight away to horses that are probably better than him. So he shouldn't be able to win on that basis. But I don't know. He's not without a chance. So yeah, again, it's another one of those where the way the market's sat, you'd think if I was previewing this earlier and you could see Django Bay at a bigger price, you take a chance on him. The fact that he is what he is now, it would be reaching for me to think this is a race that I'd want to play in or I'd want to get involved in, bar stealing a bit of early value in there. So how the race is run early would be massive. You wonder with Caldwell Potter as well, the fact they've minded him so much for hurdles to then bring him chasing, whether they would mind him in the race too if he did make a bit of a mistake. Only reason I say that is remember John Bon in the Slower last year. Was it the Slower? No, it wasn't the Slower. It was the rearranged Clarence House, I think, when he banked a fence, didn't he? And then James Bowen continued to ride all the way through to the line. Like a lot of other jockeys would have stopped that day. And I wonder if that's the case with Caldwell Potter. And he could be brave. But look, I just think this is a race that I can simulate in my head and I can see across a number of run-ins, a number of different outcomes. And I don't know how I weigh up exactly where the price should be different from where they are now. So Caldwell Potter, if he gets too much bigger, we'll have to shorten up. I wonder how much more money is going to keep coming for Django Bay, though, because you do reach a point where if they, like a Caldwell Potter, was to continue to drift all that to a 2-1 or something, it would make you question if there was some sort of vibe going around, which would then incline that Django Bay's money might be involved in that as well. But anyway, look, overcomplicating the race probably slightly. It wouldn't be one that I'm reaching to go and have a bet in. It's a bit too many question marks about lots in there, but it does look between Caldwell Potter and Django Bay. We don't even know how Django Bay's going to jump a fence. I know loads of Nicky Henderson's, especially recently, have been coming out and flying first time up, but some of them haven't jumped so well either. And it's a very individual thing. Like I said, if he was settled early on, I think he would be the winner of the race. If he was keen early on, I mean, he might get away with it in this company. Probably would. That's probably why he's being nibbled, but he might not get away with it. You know what I mean? Like if you're too keen, you might make a mistake. Anywho, 1:15, third race on the card, handicap hurdle. This is ripe for all types of different opinions, views, and possibly results. So Valgrand, they are now trying handicap company, dropping him back to 2 miles and a bit. I think that's the right thing to do. So this is trip. He didn't look like he stayed the last day. Didn't necessarily confirm that he doesn't deserve his rating, but it is going to be hard to go up from 118 to 139. For all that he did pick up a nice race, you would have thought if they knew he was well handicapped, they might have done it. But see where he is. Will Mount, I understand the excitement about this horse when he came from Neil Mulholland. The more I go through his form, and even at the time of him doing it, I just wasn't as blown away with what he was doing as I think some other people were. He was never really asked, like he got it a bit easy off the front in a few of his races. And the substance of his form, bar using Joker Demai and Newbury that was fourth behind him, which would make him look well handicapped off of 130. Everything else just makes him look about handicapped right. Now, I will say with that, he's had, I think it's best part of a year off since the Challow. If he didn't have a problem in the Challow and it was just ground and trip, then he would have run after. So he must have had some sort of issue. And then the fact that he's with Nicky Henderson for a bit longer, he's entitled to be better than what he was rated before. But that would be pure speculation, I guess. And as much as this is a nice race, that they had him in at Sandown last week, didn't want to roam. They've got him entered in here. It feels a bit like it's a run him and find out type figure. So I don't know. Obviously has a chance, and fair play for anyone that wants to have a go on him, but he wouldn't be for me, but he could be a horse that's miles clear. Reckless Eric, I put up last in the November meeting where he did win. He's £8 rise. I'm a little bit worried that he might be held off that. Now, he is only a 4-year-old. There's some horses that ran behind him that have come out and sort of battled and run okay after, but he was £8 lower. I can see why he is where he is in the market. His running style as well, the way that he stays on, the long straight as well on this new course, I think will suit him. He's got an obvious chance, but he's covered in his price, I guess. So as much as I was on him last time, I think he was 7-1 last time when I put him up. He's £8 up for that, and potentially this is a deeper race with more horses in there, but there could be some that couldn't win it. So yeah, he is where he is. Tin Tin Tin's the one that was an obvious one for support. Being fourth in a Greatwood is much stronger form than what Reckless Eric did at the previous meeting too. Tin Tin Tin's got great record round this track as well, and again his running style would suit. So he looks almost freebie for you to be playing at double figure. Well, he was double figure prices, but he's shorter now. But like 4 places up for grabs, he'd be the type of one that was almost an obvious bet. To Chase Your Dreams, £3 well in because his Judy got £10, but carries a £7 penalty. Now, Harry Cobden does ride. I watched this horse a few times, and when it won last time out, wasn't the quickest jumping when asked. And when it was ridden, it was really ridden out to get to the line. I just think it's like a stiff finish like Cheltenham wouldn't suit that horse, but happy to be wrong. Cavern Club, I liked his attitude this is probably the wrong way to say it, but I liked his attitude when Reckless Eric went past him, that he continued to pull out more. But he only just got past Bow Amber. He wears cheap pieces. I wonder if he's a little bit roguey, but he's got a squeak, and the way that he's been increasing the weights compared to Reckless Eric would suggest that he could be there or thereabouts with him. I know he was 50s before and Reckless Eric was fancy, but like I say, I liked Reckless Eric before. The time he fell in his race prior, he looked like he was the winner. So yeah, I can see a bit with them. Any harm in asking? No, probably. Then there's a few that get a little bit further down. Now, one that I'm interested in, so Tin 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 definitely interested in at the like price and as like almost a free each way bet. But I don't know whether he's got the win in him, but he might have. Mirabad made a big mistake at Ascot last time at the last flight when I'm not saying he would have beaten Oakenrisk, but he could have rallied and done well. That was off a mark of 120. Wasn't necessarily the deepest race, but there were horses like Gin Coco in there, Affadil that I quite like. That was just, I guess the ground maybe went against him, or I don't know, he wasn't a going day or whatever it was. Spirit Dunny was pulled up in there, which is pulled up in all these races, isn't he? But it wasn't a bad race. It wasn't any worse than this, or potentially much better than this, and there were fewer runners. Now, we have been keen before. He looked a bit more settled. I just think he's definitely going to win a race of 120. Whether he's good enough to do it here on a stiffer finish, I don't know for sure. We don't know anything really, do we? But he's the horse when I go through lots of these in this field where I'd say, look, if you ran him somewhere else in a handicap, I'd happily almost have a slap-up job on him. So the fact that he's as big as 20-1 with 4 places up for grabs, Mirabad is definitely on my radar as a horse for this handicap in the third race. I think he's too big a price to let him go, to be honest with you. For all that I respect, there's loads at the front of the market that probably could go well as well. So look, we are with that. He was keen in a few races before, so he could be keen there. But look, that's what I'm sort of thinking. The 3 mile 2, Cheltenham, Sonic the Hedgehog, and what a name, eh? We got King Turgeon and Chianti Classico that would have run in the Beecher. Now, the race for me does completely and utterly revolve around them. I know that our power's interesting at a big price, but he's not the typical Sam Thomas first time out winner type horse. But like I kind of see the angle with him. He would be one that I'd possibly be tempted to have a small bit on, because you don't have to pay much on at 20s. But to get into the nitty gritty of it, Chianti Classico's race to lose as far as I'm concerned. It's his backyard, isn't it? King Turgeon, for all that he's been impressive since he's wind up, the last time was over the national fences, over shorter. And he's actually had 15 runs over fences and 4 wins. Now, Chianti Classico's had 4 wins. I think he's had maybe 10 starts over fences. Don't necessarily quote me on that. But I just mean that King Turgeon, although he's a year younger, has probably been a bit more exposed, even though after his wind up, he's maybe not exposed. Look, it's a lot of weight for Chianti Classico to give away to King Turgeon. I just think it is massively between the two of them. Now, the problem with this is, again, from like me doing the tipping stuff, especially, even if I was doing them overnight prices or I'm doing it on the morning of, 6-4 now about Chianti Classico is probably short enough. 2-1 he was before, which I think would have been fine. It just reaches a point there, doesn't it, where you're just like, okay, as much as he's got a real good chance, they did talk about the Nationals so much, and you wonder, not that they're going to try and get him beat, but if he doesn't win this, he's a national horse. If he does win this, they're going to try a season in sort of Grade 1 company over stay and chase events, which might be all right on these sides of the sea, but when the Irish come over, I don't think he's got it in him. But obviously, real good round here. So look, I'm waffling a bit on this one. Like I think Chianti Classico is definitely the right favourite. I think Chianti Classico is definitely the most likely winner. But when he's carrying chunks of weight like that, he does jump beautifully. There's no chance of a mistake, I wouldn't have thought. But if he was to make one, it's much harder for him giving stones and whatever away to King Turgeon than it would be for King Turgeon to fiddle one and then go on and win it. But look, course form rules over everything. Chianti Classico should win this race. I've had a little bit on at 2-1, but like it's now when he starts to shorten up, there comes a limit with everything, isn't there? But we are where we are. The Veterans Chase. So a couple of people have told me that Shake 'em Up Harry's not reportedly, like quite well publicly reported, even though I haven't searched to try and find out yet, but not been working very well. So that said, like it tempers enthusiasm to an extent, but like I think from a veteran's perspective, what he has done, you know, winning a plate is enough to warrant favouritism in it. Seddon, of course, loves it here, so you can see the price for him. Chamblou's been nibbled. I don't know if this is his track, to be honest with you. Those couple of Ascot runs were quite good, weren't they? And then, yeah, Numator was the one that was probably interesting me a bit. When they start to get too many of these ones at big prices, it just makes me not feel like I'm reaching, but makes me question about how confident I could be about them. hasn't really got any form on an undulating track, hasn't been around here, which is a big negative. But look, 4 places up for grabs with a firm like Bet365, 16 to 1 about him. I'm toying with an each way play on him. Might be a day for a sort of each way doubles. Torn and Frayed will be supported, typically always is. Was a good winner last time out. Penultimate start at Aintree was bet and just didn't jump very well. But look, looks a nice competitive race. I wouldn't have a real strong opinion in this, nor would I be looking to have a big bet in it. Cross country, I don't want to skim it and be rude to the race, but I'm probably going to skim it. There's not too much I would have an in on this. It would be the type of one where if someone said to me, what would you do if you had a free bet in this race? I would probably bet late night pass, to set up to go and do the same sort of thing again. This Isio Maverick's real hard to get a handle on. I know that Sweet David won from miles out the handicap, but I don't know how anyone can really know what's going on with them. I mean, if they do, they must be some sort of specialist in this. So wouldn't be a race for me. Right, into the last on Friday, the City Post handicap hurdle, 3 miles. Hard one again, really, because Doyen Quest, again, is another horse that deserves to be favourite. 11 to 8 is starting to get creepy short. £10 rise, although this is probably a bit of an easier race. But you look at Gal Road, that's gone up a couple of pounds and just keeps running like close. There's only 3 places up for grabs with most bookies, but should be on the premises. Now, I'd question a lot of these, whether we don't know with some of them, that if they really want the 3 miles. Baloo's been supported, went over fences, comes back over to hurdles after 1 fence start, which was fine. Trying 3 miles for the first time. So it makes me wonder what they're doing with him. Like maybe don't want to affect the mark, or maybe they want to test out the trip easier on over hurdles, or what they're doing. But it feels like a strange move to be novice chase and then come back for whatever reason. But he has seen some money. Long Draw's an interesting one, but he's climbed up so much in the weight through coming second. I don't know. And I know he bumped into Hamsian last night that was well handicapped. Thanks for the Help's got a chance of running okay, but I just think that Doyen Quest probably is the right favourite, but he's probably too short. And again, I sound like an idiot because if he goes and wins, people will be like, well, they're never too short to bet, are they? But you know what I mean. Like he was available at 3 to 1 in the week. Definitely was coming for this race all along. He opened up on the revised markets for this at 2 to 1. He's 11 to 8 now. He's been already slammed. I think that it's just one of them that the bookies have got no interest in other horses. Now, this is a proper reach, but Antalya is well handicapped, and well handicapped off of a Potemps qualifying is behind Shoot First. It's got a couple of other runs when it's run behind some other horses that are well rated now. He does love it here. He's got a real stayer's attitude. He did all right at Aintree as well when he stays on through the line. Like he loves this hill. He really does grind right through to the end. Now the few chase starts, especially the penultimate one when Hometown Boy and Coco Mademoiselle were in the race, he didn't jump terribly, but he just looked a little bit uncomfortable going over him. Like it slowed him up or was more of an inconvenience than it was for other horses. Now, that's not enough to say that he's back and he's fine, because I don't know if he is, but he had a significant layoff before, 500 odd days, and they've applied a first-time tongue tie. So again, might be a bit reachy, but he's 40s in a few places. Now, Bet365 and other firms as well will offer you the opportunity to extend the places on some of these horses. So I'm just going to check on my phone now to see where he's at. He's still 33s on Bet365, so at the moment it doesn't particularly work, but you could extend him to be each way 5 places at 14 to 1. When they move him out from 40s or from 33s out to 40s, which they probably will do, those 5 places each way terms probably you'll be getting 16 to 1 plus, I'd imagine, which feels like an all right bet for a race where there's lots of horses that might not stay. And yes, you could question he doesn't breathe, he's not the same sort of horse, but I feel like we could get a 16 to 1 poke that pays 5 places. And Doyen Quest should win this because he looked like he had plenty on top, but it took him a while to get there in last time. They're riding more handy this time. Like it is still his race to lose, though. It's one of those, again, betting in the without market, you could look at that and you'd get 4 places essentially for your each way terms in there. But Antalya, I think, just looks, again, grossly overpriced, but he might just be gone. Right, we'll move on to Saturday so we get the early thoughts for Saturday's Cheltenham card. Haven't done every single race in depth, but I've done plenty of them so we can get through bit by bit. First race we kick off with is the Juvenile. It's like a good looking race in terms of, I think it'll be informative for going forward, but I don't have a strong opinion here from a betting perspective. We'll find out a lot more after this race than we obviously know going into it. I know that's true for lots of races, but especially with these juveniles, it's a real mixed bag of what I think anything is. So I wouldn't be interested in anything in there at the moment. I will probably spend a little bit more time on the race, but at the moment I don't have anything in there. The Novices Limited Handicap Chase, the 1240. Now, this is a race that I want to get stuck into, but again, I haven't done the donkey work into it just as yet. Peaky Boy was a horse that I talked about for the November meeting that I was excited about him going over fences. Transmission was very good under Patrick last time out and screams out to be the type of horse that would suit a National Hunt chase. Now the conditions have changed. And remember Joe Anderson last season when he rode this horse, an incredible ride where the horse just didn't want to go and then he had to keep getting at him and all those bits and pieces in there. There's bits from Destroy the Evidence that would suggest that the horse is well handicapped, but the run at Newbury last time was disappointing. There's no two ways to put that, but he's had a bit of time since then. It maybe he just bumped into a horse, but he's had a bit of time since then to suggest that look, they've waited for another opportunity to come. They've given him the 4 month again, and although he's up to £7 now, Haiti Couleurs did come out and win after running second to Destroy the Evidence, and I quite like the idea of Haiti Couleurs, but there's an £8 difference between them when they met at Chepstow, and there's a £7 difference between them running in here. So I feel like Destroy the Evidence probably feels like the right type of play on the early stages, but it was just disappointing at Newbury what he did, and he's from a family that are a bit roguey as well. So I haven't done the full depth of work on that race, so I wouldn't be strongly finding a bet at the moment. This is frustrating because Coco Mademoiselle is a horse. I've wanted to bet her the last twice at Exeter when she hasn't run. First time the ground didn't come up soft enough for her, and then the last time it was cancelled because of the storm that was about 11-2. She opened up with Hills, couldn't get there to do anything. You can see 3-1, 7-2 in other firms. The ones that are playing 4 places, I would probably take the safety net and better each way. But Coco Mademoiselle, I have no doubt, is very well handicapped off of her current mark. That run with Hometown Boy, form of that, I think is going to stick up. She's got a proper chance in here. Now, the runs after have been at 3 miles, and that run against him was 3 miles, but she'll be fine at this trip as well. The one that worried me a tiny bit was the Eximia for Venetia Williams, because of the RPRs that he'd done in France were in the 130s. He's already won a listed chase over there, but the first run for Venetia was bad, but it can be the way that it happens. 12-1 about that horse is massive. So probably the way I'll be looking to play this is I haven't bet because I can't get on with some of these firms, but I want to bet Coco Mademoiselle. And I would probably have a bit of a saver on Eximia again at the price. I think it just looks probably overpriced. In the 150, after this on Saturday, we have the December Gold Cup. Now, this is an ultra competitive renewal. Like, it's always a pretty good race, but this year's renewal looks even tougher to go apart from it. I have backed Fugitive Anti-Post for this one. I'm struggling to find like a genuine freebie each way bet or a real in this race. It just looks ultra competitive. So probably, I know it's painful to watch this, but like I'd probably swerve the race from a tipping perspective. I could make a case for almost anything in the race. There's a few that I couldn't, but Gemarand and Guard Your Dreams, both at double figure prices, I think can go well. But like I said, I've backed Fugitive before it. I think Madara, you can obviously see the case of that one, even though you got back to the 60s for a 5-year-old to win it, although a couple of 4-year-olds have won in between. Did the trends on this one as well. There's lots of horses that tick boxes for it. But yeah, Gemarand and Guard Your Dreams, I'd give a bit of a chance to. Gemarand especially, because I thought the Ascot run was entitled to come on for that, but a little bit weakish in the market. Top price 12-1 though looks fairly generous. I've already got a bit on Fugitive, as I said. I'll probably have a little bit on Gemarand and Guard Your Dreams, maybe small each ways, but that's probably telling you my personal punting more than what I'd actually proper fancy. The 2.5 furlong handicap chase after. Look, Liberty Hunter deserves to be favourite for this race. Now, Issair Dairy, I put up last time when he ran at Newbury. Really fancied this horse. Managed to back him at 7s. Went off at 2-1. Utter crap. Like, didn't run at all. Now, Niall Houlihan was riding. Not to knock him in the slightest. I was quite happy with him being up top. But it seemed like a bit of a strange race. Like, Etalon went out and then stopped. General Madano won. It was just a bad day at the office, I'd consider it as. Freddie Mitchell's back on, so claims £5, so that makes a £5 difference to the weights. Cheap pieces are applied now. It's a quick turnaround that worries me a tiny bit of Issair Dairy, but you go back to that run at Ascot behind Master Tour, it was a decent run and had Master Chewy a bit behind him. And based on that, there's no reason why him and Master Chewy should be a different price, especially when Master Chewy tipped up and has tipped up around this track as well. So Issair Dairy I wouldn't have jumper concerns with. The cheap pieces concern me a little bit. That you'd have to put a massive line through that last one, and maybe he was just miles better because he was fresh. But I feel like I kind of want to get something on Issair Dairy, but I fully respect Liberty Hunter as well. So looks a good race, to be honest with you. The Albert Bartlett novices had all the Bristol novices had all the Grade 2 race. Skyjack Hyjack, I've been talking about this horse for a little while. I think he's got a real good chance of doing this. We recorded the weekend watch earlier, and Andrew Mount, interestingly, said that 5-year-olds have done well in this race. The two that weren't 5 were Kilbrecken Storm and, you know what I mean, Harry. Both of them went on to win an Albert Bartlett. Now, I'm not saying that this horse is going to go and do that, but until he's beaten, I've got no reason to suspect that he will be beaten, if you know what I mean. Clondor General put up a good RPR on his hurdling debut, but Skyjack Hijack has just continued to do what he's been doing. Now, the last run was only racing against a 117 horse. I think he was giving away £8, beaten by 9 lengths in the end, but the horse wasn't ridden till the end. So it's a performance that, look, he did what he had to do. This is, I'd say, definitely a deeper race. We don't know for definite, but I would say, imagine it is a deeper race. And I don't think he's going to get things off the front end as easily as he had at other tracks. And a lot of those tracks have been flat ones as well. So I like Skyjack Hijack. I don't want to feel like I've got over the top with him and then think, oh, let's take him on for the sake of it. And I feel like 2-1 is not a bad price. We'll see where he sits. I feel like if he's bigger than 2-1, I still think he's worth sticking with for the short term. But we'll see what happens, especially with a lot of his wins. He's been well supported for those wins as well. So not that you smash a horse in a grade 2 from a smaller yard, but, you know, they obviously expected bigger things, more so than the market did before. The last race on Saturday is a mare's handicap hurdle over 2.5 miles. Now, I haven't done this real deep. I was surprised with the price of Woodoo. Big, I can't remember how big it was, but 14 to 1 with Bet365 looks big enough. String of ones. I know it's had a massive layoff. Danny Gilligan comes over to ride. Haven't done the work on the race properly enough to say whether I actually think it's in or not. But like, that was the first one that jumped off the sheet a bit to me. Take no chances. Obviously, he's got to carry a heavy weight now. Joyeuse was third, I think, wasn't it, Ascot? Was it behind Celtic Dino? Like one of those that could be the short price. You actually look at it, it's thrown in type race for this one. So I haven't done the donkey work on this one, but as it stands at the moment, like Woodoo looked a bit overpriced. And then I need to go and have a little bit more work on Joyeuse because it could be that deserves to be favourite and deserves to be shorter. But they're the thoughts for the 2 days at Cheltenham. Wanted to get something out to you guys because I know I haven't been doing so many of these previews. Honestly, I'm just busy trying to get everything going, and obviously it presents its own challenges. This is why I had to reduce the amount that I'm putting out in here because I don't have enough hours in the day essentially. But I still want to get this stuff out there, and I still think a few of you are interested in it. Obviously, with me putting a little bit less content out there, I know it might take you away and you might want to go see some other channels and do stuff. Obviously, you do whatever you want to do. There's some real cracking content that is out there. Matty and Andrew have done the weekend watch this week. I was hosting that, so you can go find out their views by checking out the gg.co.uk channel. But they're sort of my early thoughts for Cheltenham for Friday, Saturday. Which bookie, the link that I've explained to you before, but you can check out on Twitter or their website. The horse racing tips that I will put up, they go up at 8 o'clock in the morning of the day's racing. Is tricky because I've explained in here about how some prices are moving, but we talked about when we were setting this up that was the way that we were going to approach it. I'm happy enough doing that because it potentially brings in best odds guarantees for people, but it does make it a little more frustrating because a lot of bets are price related, and if they go away, then all of a sudden it means it makes you question, do you put in the column at bad value or where is the line of value? So yeah, overthinking stuff at the moment, but it's new to me doing the actual tip inside of it rather than just the punting and sharing what I'm betting. So just trying to make that work as best I can. And yeah, is what it is. So let's keep going. Cheltenham this weekend looks decent. Let me know in the comments what your best bets are of the weekend. And yeah, best of luck. And I will catch you guys again very soon.